Hello everyone. There is a urban legend that is coming from India. The legend goes that there was a old Sufi mystic. This Sufi mystic comes to this place and he performs his meditations or prayers or rituals, and he does it for 40 days without any kind of disturbance whatsoever. And when he comes out of it, he is really happy and he enters into a state of trance. And in that state of trance, he starts to swirl around and dance. And such was the power of his devotion to God that the trees around this place started to dance with him. Now, if you visit this place, and this is a real place near Indore, Madhya Pradesh, India. So, regardless of whether you believe this is real or not, I mean, I have my doubts, but I do love a good urban legend. I love magic realism. I love a good fantasy. But if you believe in something, then the power of your belief can be strong enough to move things around you. So, we're going to see what is the best possible and we're going to get to it. So, let's go into Blender. Before we get into any modeling, let's try something with geometry nodes, right? And in geometry nodes, let's first try to create something, right? Let's take a curve line, start from there. We'll probably need to resample it to like 1, 2, and 3, right? Like 1. Let's say we take a IOP first of all, connect it here and go for a join geometry. Then if we mount an arc here, go for a endpoint selection, or let's just go for a equal and index. And yeah, we'll go for, actually let's make it 4 and let's go for 1. Now in here, first of all, I'll change the arc angle to 180 degrees. We'll go for a points kind of a thing, I think, where the midpoint is actually at 0 and the start and the start is Z. So 0.3 maybe, or 0.5, that's too much. And similarly for this one also, we'll go for a minus 0.33. Second thing is to reduce the size here. I think I'm going to go for a combine XYZ on this one, 0.33, and we'll connect this here and we'll do a multiply. Go for a minus on the X and 1 on the Y. Change this to minus 0.33. Yeah, connect this here. So now we just have to kind of increase the size over here, right? And the number of points in the arc are too much, I think. So let's just change it to like 3 points for now. Then I'm gonna, let me make some space here actually. Now the second thing we'll need, we can just duplicate all this, bring it up here, connect it here. And in the index, I'm gonna choose a higher one, and I'm gonna increase the X here, and I'm gonna raise the Z as well. And then if I take all of this and feed it to a transform node, basically this is the kind of rotation we need. Now, one thing that we want this to be a slow motion, right? So how do we do a slow motion? First is to set up the frame rate and stuff. So I'm going to check 1980 into 1920, 1080 into 1920. I'm going for a vertical resolution on this one so that I don't have to like kind of focus much for the backgrounds. I could go for a square resolution as well. Like I could go for 1350 maybe. So in the time stretching, I'll play it to 50, right? Old is 100. So just for an example, if we plug a combine XYZ here, give it some keyframe, press I to give it a keyframe here, make that 0, press I again to formalize the change. Then go to the last frame and I guess make it this much. Pi, I think 180 degree is enough. Like right now we are moving less than our anticipated rate. Like we're moving at FPS 15, which is half of what we need. So I'll have to probably 200 it. So now it'll go extremely slow. Yeah, this is the kind of effect we want. Like our animation will go for 250 frames, but our action finishes in 125. As you can see, it jumps back from this one. Now, what we need is if we take this and I'm gonna add a join geometry to this. So, how do we add anything to this, right? And I'm still thinking how. Like, I do have a few ways in mind, but nothing sure yet. So, like, the typical anatomy of a cloth is that it would be something like this thick on the shoulders, but it would like fall from here, right? Let's try for the lower one first, right? Because that's got to be easier. So, for the lower one, let's say we do a CTM group over here. Oh, by the way, this is a simple group which does a curve to mesh translation, and it kind of also captures the attribute. So for those who don't know, this is something that I just made, and I don't think anybody knows. Like, but basically, it's a curve to mesh converter with a capture attribute inbuilt for taking out the UV of that curve. And we apply a circle here with zero point 0.5 radius or even lesser. Okay, so as we can see, this has applied it to everywhere, and we don't really want that right now. What we want, first of all, is just this guy, right? So what I'll do is just to apply to this guy, I will just connect this guy here, right? And then even here, we probably need something like a trim curve on this because we don't want whole of all of it. We just want it till over here, right? And then we can increase this to something like this. But of course, not all of its radius would be the same. So I'm going to apply a set curve radius and connect it to a spline parameter. Go for a reverse curve over here, float curve here. Now we could actually kill this as well, doesn't matter, but it's fine, I guess. So we're going to increase this to something like this, right? And this guy can then be whatever, right? So I'm going to change this to like 128 and we can reduce this a bit. Let's just try to pack things up. Now, there are two ways to kind of make it appear like a cloth. If we were to now add a set position, or we could just bring up another group, which is a noise group. This is also something that has just a set position, multiply, subtract. Like if you have seen my other tutorials, trees on spline, and the tutorial regarding the winter themed diorama, then you'll know that for every noise texture, we use a multiply and a subtract before a noise texture. But since noise texture is so frequently used, I have just made a group of it called the noise group. And we can bring it here, and already it has some presets attached. And then that's it. Right. So I'm going to turn this on because we need the selection. Now if we try a selection here greater than float z of position, and we'll select on this, go less than, and then 0.45 maybe. We should decrease the noise here because 4 is a bit too much, I think. Yeah, 3 is nice, good enough. And the detail, can drop it to 0, I guess. So this is the bottoms. Now what about the top half, right? So for the top half, let me just make a quick change here. I'm gonna move this guy downstairs. And I'm gonna move this guy upstairs. Now let's say we want to take this guy. How can we make a garment out of this? So first thing is we gotta create like an arm kind of a thing. So I'm gonna realize this because this is an instance, right? And then I'm gonna resample this because there's only 3 points on that curve. 10 points is fine. We can change this to like 4 points maybe, so that there's a semblance of shoulders, and yeah, 4 is actually good. Then I'm gonna add a set curve radius and connect it to a float curve and a spline parameter. No effect is seen right now, but we'll get a curve to mesh group that we created, and we'll connect it there and connect it to a circle. We just want 8 resolution and 0.01 radius, or 0.1 radius for that matter. See, 4 is actually all we need, but after that we can resample it further. Yeah, now it's working. So we'll give 0.25 to the last point. I'll give 0.25 to the first point. This can be the temporary angles for now. We'll get the center point to 0.5 and give it 0.75, I guess, or even lesser, maybe 0.5. Let's connect it to a index here. And we can see that there are a lot of points. I'm going to turn on the wireframe. Like if we see from the top, we need this line, right? So we needed, like, we can't really select these because they're like, we can, but we'll have to point in a lot of numbers, send in a lot of numbers over here separately. So let's try to sort this, sort elements, points, and how do we want to base our sort points? If we base it on the x-axis of position, no, we still don't. If we base it on y, we're probably still looking at the same kind of issues. 75, 77, 78, 76, 74, 64, right? I'm going to go for a greater than, connected to a float unsigned angle. So this will attempt to kind of clear out the angles that we don't need. Let's change it to edge. Okay, so this has cleared out all the edges, but if we change it to faces, yeah, let's keep it at edge. And then we're just left with faces, right? 2 faces. So we can delete those faces as well by just going delete geometry and change this to only faces. If we go vertex neighbors, vertex ground greater than, connect this here, change this to point. Okay, so now we have separated the lines that we need, but we just want to separate these 2 lines. So we'll look at the index now of the edges, or points also is fine, but we need to sort the elements now. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is this. Okay. Like I want them to go like this, like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what is the y? Yeah, y is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, okay. Yeah, this could work actually. So for example, now I'm going to connect it to a different viewer just for a second. And on this, I'm going to add a separate geometry, matte here, greater than, change this to integer, or just less than, actually, less than 7 of integer. Oh, sorry, index. Let's mute this. Yes, this gave us 1 line. So the second would be, uh, what would be the second? We'll look at this. The opposite of the 7 line is 40 to 41, 47, right? So greater than or equal to 40, greater than or equal to 40. This should give us the second line, and then a combination of these two should give us what we need. I'll change this to less than or equal. Right, so this is, we got what we need here. Kind of a long process, but worked out. So quite a long list of things here, but what we will do here is do a join geometry and connect this to the unseparated thing over here. Now, this is a mesh, so I'm gonna convert this to a MTC, and then I'm gonna CTM on this. Instead of X, I think it's gonna be Y. Yeah. Like, I wonder why we can't get till the end here. Can we? Okay, this is where we kind of went outside the zone. Then, okay, so let's make this 3 and then connect the index again. So 0 to 8 is this one, and the opposite one is actually greater than 50 to, yeah, greater than 50 actually. So then this should work out the same way. Wait, why do we not have this one here? Oh, okay, 9 actually, not 8. So we change this to 9 and we have the thing we need. And now we have this going full circle, right? We want to add a set position to basically, we want to scale this, right? So offset, normal, and scale. Yeah, something like this, but we only want to apply it to the points here. So again, we'll have to check the index. We'll have to again sort elements here because our indexes are going 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. So can just duplicate this and maybe connect it to X, I think. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 must be down there. All right. So not X clearly. So for this, in the selection, if we greater than index, I think 20 greater than equal to 20, this should work out. Okay, less than then. One more maybe. Yeah, okay. Works out. I'm just gonna delete the unnecessary nodes here. A lot of node setup went into this, but I'm gonna keep all this open because this is gonna be important probably at some point, maybe. Let's connect this to the main thing. In order to give it a noise, we need to make sure that the noise does not apply to these points. So this becomes really important. And just get the noise group, connect this, and just kind of give it like something. Before that, no, we can't, like if we subdivide this, then we're gonna run into problems again. We'll have to check the viewer and index again. And oh my God, this is crazy. All right. Like we want to pin this point group. And this is where outside geometry node, it's really easy. We can just select these points, but inside geometry nodes, it's kind of a problem. So let's try a selection where we go greater than vertex neighbors, vertex counts greater than 3, but I think that pins everything. So what we could do is if we add a math node here and we connect it to a less than on the position, then it should free up the edges at the bottom, right? Yeah, now the edges at the bottom are free and we've got what we need, kind of. Right. So this kind of does it for the cloth over there. Bring this down here. Then raise this up and raise this up. Right. Now what we need is a bunch of hands at the outset here, right? In order to do that, I'm going to get a viewer first of all, connect a quadratic Bezier with 8 points. That's enough. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0.5 and 0, 0, 1. And add a CTM group over here. Cut out the material and the outputs. connect this to a circle. 6 is enough, 0.1 is enough. And then we just have to kind of like set curve radius and float curve. Actually, we sample this a bit. Now, if we were to, let's say, move this guy over here, something like this, right? That's kind of a like grip. We plug this into a repeat zone. Just trying a very rudimentary attempt at hands here. Add a transform geometry, connect it back. And then if we were to go on the X, X.1, scale can be slightly lower on all of the things. And then go 1, 2, right? Sort of appears like a finger. And then we add a join geometry over here, connect a transform node. And on this one, we probably twist it around the, I guess, the x-axis, and also like minus 180 on the z. Move it away on the z a bit and on the y a bit. And then finally, we take a grid, transform probably 90-degree on the x, and then add a extrude mesh to this. Turn off the individual and drop the extrude to just cover up the hands like this. I'm going to connect it back over here so it kind of forms a full circle. First, we'll move it towards the Y over here and then extrude it so that it covers the entire hand. Then I'm going to add a subdiv surface to this guy here. Just one is probably enough. And a subdiv surface at the end as well. Now to shape it, we need lesser on the X. Move it on the X towards this guy. Then again, I'm just gonna join it to the best of my ability. What we'll do actually is we'll add a join geometry here and change this to minus. Right, so we'll get like thickness on both sides, except this one can be slightly lesser. Let's add a subdivide here. Give more vertices on the Y, I think. Sorry, on the X. Okay, I mean, it's fine. Yeah, let's kill this and then just move it up slightly. Now we need like a sort of like a bend on this one, right? So if we go set position, let's see the index ones of the edge, I think. So if we were to bend it on the X, everything's going right. So, but like we just need to bend a particular. So greater than, let's connect the greater than here and then try to see what kind of a connection we can use here. About vertex neighbors, face count. Yeah, this kind of a bend, I think. And then we can change this to 0.15 maybe. And then move this guy slightly inwards. Now, let's say this entire group barring this one, say this is a hand, okay? Then we connect it to another join geometry over here. A viewer, we can kill this viewer. And then we just connect a cylinder, transform, reduce the radius to 0.1. Position, we can move up and down over here. And then we can add depth to it. Now, what if this is my instance, right? So if I connect this guy here instead of the icosphere, so first of all, scale, I'm gonna add a value over here. We'll just move all of this over here, and I'm just gonna figure out this rotation for a second. We could do it in two ways actually to keep it simple. Let's do one first, right? And for that, we can just go line Euler to vector, can be tangent. We could just position it then. So transform size can be 0.09, and that's one. Let's just say then we go to the other one. And for the other one, I think we'll just duplicate this. Instead of this, we'll just connect the hand on the other one and connect this. It's there, but it's hidden basically right here. So I'm going to change it to, sorry, I'm going to add a vector math here. Change this to multiply, and probably one of the axes switched should do it, or all three axes switched should do it. Or we can just add a rotation, do a 180 degrees here and minus 40 degrees here. And just align this roughly. Right, but for, oh, okay. What we'll do is, yeah, we'll just duplicate this. Take it out. Connect this one here. And we'll change the settings for this a bit. And then we come back here and we can just arrange this again. I know this is very, very clumsy looking, but I think by the end of it, we might just get this to work. Okay, next. Yeah, so the camera we want is gonna be like a 800 camera probably, but way far behind. First of all, we'll have to probably set up this thing to 10,000 meters and then go back on the x-axis. So also we want to kind of set a focus here. Let's turn on the depth of field and give some depth of field value to, or even probably we can just add a empty and then attach the camera to that focus plane and change this to 0.1. So even the hands are out of focus then. Now we just need a head and a head covering sort of a thing, and we need to make them flow. So we'll get to that in the next video. For now, we have covered the character, and in the next video, we're going to be moving towards designing the background and the overall scene and completing and packaging this video. If you haven't already, then check out the trees on spline tutorial that is on my channel, because that is going to be the tree that I'm going to be using in the next part. Stay tuned and make sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out any of the updates that are coming through. If you want, you can follow me on my social media. The link would be given in my profile or somewhere below in the video. And I'm going to see you in the next video.